important item.
Which one?
March, yes, which is, Mr. Masaki will be up more to discuss it. It's on for
He's coming up.
discussion. I believe so.
Yeah,
I'll
let's make sure. I believe this starts at 10 o'clock, just so everyone knows, no matter what, so it's recording right now. We just gotta take roll and everything.
We are gonna allow some public comment at the end. We're gonna give it a try to see how it works with the system. With that,
Okay. Mr. Cantala
Here.
Ms. Frenchco. Mr. Malloy.
here. Oh, we had another, weather emergency this week, and everybody's department's fair okay? They had no problems out at the Ag Center or anything, trees or anything?
We didn't have any trouble with that, but because our system's been off for so long, we have battery backup for our fire and burglar alarm system. And, the batteries are now dead. I talked to WJ Alarm Friday, because we've had this problem now since the last one. They came out and looked at it, and they said it's gonna be at least 2 weeks before they can come in and replace batteries and get it back up to speed. So, the burglar alarm system's down, the fire alarm system's, it's there, but it's only running on AC, so when the power goes out, I've been getting calls from WJ Alarm like at 1:30 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning, you know, but there's nothing we can do about that, but just so you know that our system is up and down and up, but it's gonna take them at least another week or two to be able to get that repaired. Outside that, we're okay out there.
I know Bezetta lost a lot of trees in their township park. Came across the
Yeah.
lake and left a big swatch through the, woods there, Imagination Station.
Yeah, that part missed us, so we were fortunate for that.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Roof damage up at Portland.
Did you? Leaking or just,
Still hard was out there, I guess the call came in, the roof was like lifting up, flapping around, so I don't know what happened, I don't know. I know, Bill probably knows more about the Portland garage.
Yeah, I turned it into, Rebecca got an insurance claim on it. There's a hole in it, there's about 60 feet of flashing missing from the front of the big garage. The pole barn has metal folded up and it came back down, but it's got about 30 feet of flashing on the edge missing. I don't know what, the back is just, the back, I went and walked around the whole building yesterday, so the back is just where the gutter used to be in the downspout. I don't know what we do with that, so, other than flashing again.
so you know anything more about any of the county properties, the damage?
Damage property-wise, no, our jail had some issues that lifted up on the edge, but it's something that we can put back on. Nothing major for our jail, but other than the Cortland garage was the biggest one, and some trees that fell over at Fairhaven that I talked to Mr. Danzo about, so he's gonna give me sort of an opinion on that. We're on our property and they fell all under the neighbors and I have for property.
The 911 center, I guess they were without phone lines for a while.
And
I saw that on Facebook, that they were routing them to the individual police departments.
I don't know anything about it online.
Okay, we'll have to figure more on that.
We had our, wastewater package plant, Liberty Township, Fox Den was down without power for a couple of days. They were making arrangements yesterday to get a generator out there. So,
Okay.
but, everything right now is going well, so.
All right, we'll start with our agenda for, what we're gonna go over tomorrow. We'll have a video presentation from Beth Carmichael on tourism tomorrow. Discuss the minutes, approve the bills, transfer monies, sanitary engineer, auditor. Just give a little rundown on this if you could, Martha. I know this is kind of really the first year dealing with this. Transfer monies, decrease appropriations, approve additional appropriations, transfer appropriations, and, you know, why all this has to be journalized? What is,
Well,
with it?
that's a really good question. I know ours, why? Ours is for, the bond payoff that will be, in June. So we will pay down that off, pay down the bond. So I know that, you know, as we kind of reconcile everything, there's things that have to get transferred to make it, reconcile with the new budget. I do know that with the other ones, but that's, beyond that, I don't know. This is the first I've looked at it, so I don't know.
Paul, are you familiar with this at all, and the instructions they gave you?
Sorry.
When they set the budget, then these happen again, and it's just, sometimes they're inter-fund transfers, from, maybe you're paying for this and need money, so that'd be like transfer appropriations from like same fund to same fund. When you have additional money, what we do is, the department submit it to our office, and, Christie or Debbie check them very thoroughly. They're put on our agenda, and they are checked again. They are checked again by Ms. Santangelo to make sure there's no errors and everything, but it's just how, it's not like you're giving them extra money, it's what they're doing with the money that was given to them.
Right.
So who gives us these to put on the
The
agenda?
departments do. Bob Mariano
that's
could
like-
probably
so-
explain, he's been doing
Thank
them
you.
for quite a long time, so.
So I knew ours, that's why I knew ours.
Yes, but Mr. Mariano
I hadn't had a
is
chance
probably
to-
very versed with it,
So the money transfers are, Sanitary Engineers has several funds that we use. So we move money in between funds. So we have our 600 fund, which is primarily dedicated to paying salaries and administrative expenses. And then each individual water and sewer fund, which is 602, 604, 607, 608, 609. Those are all individual funds where we receive water and sewer money, but we have to transfer them to 600 to pay salary. So every month, I do an administrative transfer from our water and sewer funds to our administrative fund to pay our salary. So you'll see, these numbers will appear every single month. And I think last week I had 3 months' worth at one time because the budget wasn't set, so I did 3. This one's for April.
Is this something we do quarterly, half year?
It happens when the budget's set, it will go to the end of the year, I believe, but, that's why you saw that after we,
I'm not as concerned about the transfers, departmentally or on the appropriations, is that new money? Can anybody, or is that money that's still being transferred on the additional appropriation? Agenda item 5.
So typically, increased appropriations are where, like, for sanitary, if we got additional funding, or Scott for a project gets additional money in that I need to pay back out, that I didn't budget for, I would have to increase the appropriation in the fund. So basically going over what was originally appropriated for the budget to pay bills. So it could be they got additional revenue in.
Well, I see on,
With the grant.
there's a grant from the prosecutor, but is anybody here from the sheriff's office with the high number there for 400,000? I didn't know if anybody. That could very well be a transfer as well, I just didn't know if it's new money or new, above and beyond the budget, you know?
With it being an increase in appropriations, I would assume it was a grant that they didn't budget for, that they didn't know they were receiving, so they're receiving it, now they're asking to spend it.
you'll see that, you'll see Shara has a couple, that 65,000 is probably the vehicle that we, gave to,
Mr. Hickey.
no, it was,
Oh, Mrs. Grover.
yes, Ms. Grover, so that looks
Right.
like that was probably for that amount of money. We'll definitely find out for you and get an answer. They do give an explanation that we do have a packet and everything, but it
Does
looks
this go through the auditor first, or comes to us
it'll
and
go
then
to
to
the
the auditor?
auditor. Yeah.
Martha, who's your point person for that?
For the ARPA or for,
For like the sheriff, the $400,000?
that would be Christie and, Debbie.
Can you check with them maybe before tomorrow and get
Sure,
everything
yeah,
on?
and I won't be here tomorrow, I'm going down for the auditors conference, but,
Okay.
again, I just pulled this off, so I didn't, usually I try to ask all the questions before I come down, and I apologize for not doing that, but I will get it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, that number especially, I mean, I'm not so much concerned about the transfer of appropriations as I am the additional appropriations. Sheriff's Department.
Okay. Approve agreement between, Sheriff's Department and Newton Falls Local School District. They agree to pay Trumbull County Sheriff's Office $15,894 doable and payable, the end of the term of the contract, through May 25th. Okay.
Tony couldn't come, today, he said, please still reach out, talk to him, and the amount of money is so low, because it's just finishing out the agreement.
Okay.
The year with it, so.
Well, that'll bring them to the end of the school year.
Yeah, the
so
end of
that's
the
what-
school year, it's a short amount of time, and,
know if there's been some scuttlebutt in the papers about, school resource officer there, and did they replace him, did they not, did he get private service or not, so maybe that's involved with that somehow. And that. Number 9, on or about May 1st, 2023, Board of Trumbull County Commissioners intends to enter in a general liability insurance contract with Corsa, thereby entering into a joint self-insurance pool to provide for the payment of judgments, settlement of claims, expense, loss, and damage that arise, or is claimed to have risen from any act or omission of the public subdivision or any of its employees in connection with government or proprietary function, indemnify or hold harmless the subdivision's employees against such loss or damage.
Alex, yep, even Jency will explain this, we did work with the prosecutor's office on this, and.
So this is our yearly, Corsa coverage. Through Chapter 8, CCAO, just so everybody's aware, the Chapter 8 refers to liability, immunity, and insurance, which strictly dictates that we do not have to go out to bid as long as we follow the process that we're doing right now, which would be that we give the details, it is actually called the, memorandum of coverage, so we will have this available at the clerk's office for 2 weeks prior to us submitting the actual, quote for the insurance coverage for 2024. So as long as we, properly advertise this, which is what we're doing right now, the public can come and ask what our coverage is. They can look at the plan, whatever questions they may have, they can ask. And then in 2 weeks, we will put on the actual, renewal and the costs associated with it will come in 2 weeks from Corsa.
It doesn't need advertised, and how many counties of the
66.
66 go with Corsa?
Mm-hmm. And I have all that here in case anybody were to ask.
And not to mention, it would be a nightmare to switch right now as far as everything we have already going with Corsa.
Correct, and to my understanding, we did actually try to switch well before me, and it did not go so well, according to Mr. Danzo. So we went out before, and we did a procurement, and we did look to utilize some other coverage for, it just did not work so well, so we ended up being back with Corsa. They do have 66 of the 88 counties that have all the coverages with them, so, I mean, they're obviously not a sole provider, but they're a very big provider within the state of Ohio, correct? And then also too, just so everybody's aware, per the ORC, joint self-insurance pool risk management does not need to be bid out if we follow this process.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Number 10, concur with the Workforce Board of Trumbull County to release the RFP for the position of Ohio Means Job Center Operator. As required by the state of Ohio, the proposal will be released April 6th, close May 5th, with the funding period of July 1 to June 30, 2025. Per recommendation of William Turner.
Yeah, I had to make, some slight changes to the RFP for, and we'll,
You have the changes?
I'll get you one.
Perfect, thank you.
We have to do this every, 3 to 4 years by law, and I have to procure the OMJ Center Operator, which would be the person or entity, operating the OMJ or supervising the OMJ Center. And, that procurement outlines all that is needed, and expected to do so. Morning.
So the last time we did this was 3 years ago?
Yeah.
What are the changes that were made?
Okay. Go to, the cover letter, the last sentence of the letter, just added via postal delivery service. I originally had in there you had to respond in person. I didn't think that would lend itself to fairness. So you can mail it in as long as it hits the deadline. On the, page 4, last paragraph, $60,000 will be available annually for the operation, and just added annually for clarity. Page 10, the last bullet on page 10, again, just supports the proposals being submitted by postal or delivery service or in person. And then added, at the end of the procurement package, the delinquent affidavit on delinquency and non-collusion.
On page 10 as well?
No, that's at the end.
Oh.
The last attachments. And this will be procured through the normal means. It'll go to the Tribune, it'll go to LinkedIn, it'll go to ONJ. We'll put it out there and. All right,
Thank you.
sure.
Can I interrupt your question with regard to the 400,000? That's, reflective of the, City of Newton Falls contract with the Sheriff's Department. So, and anything that's like in a 710 fund would be contract. That's what that is.
Oh,
Does that make sense now?
yes, it does.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a new agreement they have with us, so.
yeah, that's what that is.
Those who don't know, Newton Falls doesn't have, we're supplying the police service to Newton Falls. Yeah.
And it does sound serious there, 'cause there's already, I heard other departments trying to get their police cars and equipment and stuff, so it doesn't look like this is, it's a passing thing right now, so.
Right.
All right, number 11, authorized purchase of a Ford E-450 DRW cutaway mounted mainline TV inspection truck from M-Tech for the use of Trumbull County Sanitary Engineers Department in the amount of $387,000.
Commissioners, back in 2019, we did a 5-year capital plan, and we had been planning on replacing this TV truck in 2024. According to our 2 supervisors, we've been having to take the TV truck for service 2 or 3 times a month, and it's getting cost prohibitive to continue to operate it. Additionally, the software and hardware for the TV cameras, are becoming outdated. So they would like us to proceed to buy a new one. We got a quote from M-Tech, which is a state purchasing vendor, and I think it came in at the $387, but it's a savings of $47,000 off of their retail price. We're gonna keep the old TV truck, we're gonna strip it down and just use it as a maintenance vehicle going forward.
We looked at potentially selling it, or do we still need it at
I
this point?
mean, our thought was just to keep it, which we could sell it, but if we have a use for it in our maintenance department, better served for that.
This is through state purchasing.
Correct. And I did forward it to the prosecutor's office, and they said since it's state purchasing, there was no legal question for it.
And number 12, authorize Denny Moy, President of the Board of Trumbull County Commissioners, execute an easement for pipeline right-of-way between Trumbull County and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Pittsburgh District for the purpose of approval to use certain property under the jurisdiction of the Corps for the outfall discharge piping for the Sterling Sewage Treatment Plant and the Mecca Sewage Treatment Plant at Mosquito Lake. Trumbull County shall pay in advance the United States compensation amount of $17,000 to be paid by Trumbull County Sanitary Engineer Sewer District.
Yeah,
This,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll say this was something that, well, go ahead, I'll let you explain first.
No, I mean, Commissioners, you're aware of this. We've been dealing with the Army Corps for quite some years, trying to renew this easement agreement. It's a 50-year agreement. You attended the one meeting. We were kind of hung up on the special conditions where they were requiring pretty stringent discharge limits on our package plants, particularly with nutrients. Finally, what they allowed us to do was to, as long as we abide and comply with our current Ohio EPA permits, discharge limits, they're okay with that. And that's the language they put in the agreement that ultimately was a win-win for us. It really was.
Initially, from what I understand, they came in a lot more stringent than what we could even possibly do.
Yeah, there is no technology feasible that exist out there. I mean, you know, give you an example, the limit they imposed, the Ohio EPA limit is 1 milligram per liter, for what that's worth. Their limit for phosphorus was .0375. We knew we couldn't hit that. There's no technology available to do that.
That was something from witnessing, you guys put an awful lot of work into this. This agreement expired, say 8 years ago or something, so we've been working just kind of on a continued from the last agreement. And, you know, there was some worry that had this not happened, we'd have been kind of shut down in 2 neighborhoods. And you guys prepared a really detailed kind of rebuttal. You know, I appreciate the hard work you guys put into this thing, and then we even got, Congressman Joyce's office, sent a representative, and it seemed like the meeting we had, you know, flowed pretty flawlessly after that. And if had we not been as prepared as you were, and it may not have gone so easy.
Well, thank you.
So your hard work kind of backed them in a corner that we put the ball back in their court on proving that we could do this and they couldn't, and that's why they said, okay, you guys are good for another 50 years.
No, we were happily with the response. We didn't expect the response we got that day.
So, hats off to that. That was a big save right there that could have been really, really ugly. All right, number 13, concur with Trumbull County Engineer to grant the special annual supplier fleet permit for fleet vehicles to transport aggregate, concrete, construction goods, and other light materials. Arms Trucking.
Commissioners, this is actually a new permit for a new company. They're an old company, but it's new.
And then, 14, concur with Trumbull County Engineer grant right-of-way permits for Village Energy, Edwards Hay and Straw, Dominion East Ohio, and ASW Pipeline.
They're all right-of-way permits. 3 of them are for gas services or gas mainline work, and then for Hay and Straw, they're actually making the driveway access to have to.
You get many of those, or they usually just do it on their own without getting a permit?
Get a lot of them. I'm sure there's a lot that do it without a permit. But if there's an issue and it's undersized, you know, then we'll remove the culvert. Backside of it. Better for them to get the permit, then there's a record of it, and they're advised what size to put in, where to, you know, how many long section of ditch.
Right, 15, concur with Trumbull County Engineer to award the only bid submitted by Union Industrial Contractors for the Newton Falls Covered Bridge damage repairs at $762,340.
If you remember several months ago, this project was put out to bid and there were no bids received, so we asked the commissioners to bid. We revised our engineer's estimate. We did get a bid this time. Corsa actually cut the check ahead of time because of such a large amount of repairs. We worked with the prosecutor's office to do this too, so we're ready for the bid so we can get that.
That bridge is always damaged. It's getting damaged quite a bit, doesn't it?
I don't know if it gets damaged, you know, obviously to this extent.
Right.
All the time. It's car was speeding through the bridge, lost control, kind of crashed into the bridge. And the very difficult part there is it's a historical bridge.
Right.
It was built in 1801. The contractors to do that type of work on wooden bridges are very far and few between.
Is there any thought of restricting access to the bridge at some point, or?
I know there's a weight limit on it, because it's a covered bridge, there's height requirements, so you're talking about even further. I mean, I'm sure we could discuss that, how it would be policed or.
If someone hate it, why are we paying and not their insurance?
Our our insurance is paying, I think they're going after Progressive, I think the driver was underinsured, so, but it's a Trumbull County asset, so of course,
Okay. 16, concur with Trumbull County engineers and authorize Denny Malloy to execute any and all required documents related to the forgivable loan application process, receipt and return, of related documents, execution of forgivable loan documents, implementation of activities and expenditures of funds related to the admin of the following open forgivable loan, home sewage treatment system, water pollution control loan forgiveness program, Ohio EPA.
This is a, forgiveness loan and grant program through the Ohio EPA, that's applied for every year. It helps low to moderate income families in Trumbull County replace their septic systems, and in some cases, connect to sanitary sewer lines. Currently, we're working with sanitary engineer and getting, in West Farmington, using funds from 21 and 22 to connect low to moderate income households to their newly, approved sanitary sewer. So this is for the PY 2023, keep those funds going. So this is applying for and all other related documents.
With that, with that funding, how many homes in, West Farmington are we able to connect?
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head because there was mixed funds. We used some CDB, we used HSTS, and there's another funding source. And based on their degree of low to moderate income based on the HUD standards, some people got partial loans, some people got full, some people, didn't get any. But I believe out of the HSTS, there was close to 40 some bid out that were being connected, paid for in full.
Before we go to 17, I just want to state again, for those listening in, we will have comment period at the end. We're gonna try to do that, so if you have questions or whatever regarding stuff, write them down. We can discuss at the end, and also for those listening, you can't see us, we have more than 23 people in this room working things out on this, so it's a big effort by a lot of people to make sure that we go over the agenda in its entirety and we get all our questions answered before the vote tomorrow. So we appreciate everybody listening and being here for that. Number 17, concur with Trumbull County Planning Commission requesting the Board of Trumbull County Commissioners to authorize various items related to the publication of a notice of intent to request release of funds required for the environmental review record. Trumbull County PY 22 CDBG Critical Infrastructure Grant, Townsend Avenue, Storm Drainage Infrastructure Improvements Project, Liberty Township.
So this is, a storm drainage infrastructure improvement project that is being done in Liberty Township to, help a neighborhood decrease flooding, and it's in partnership with the engineer's office. We were awarded a critical infrastructure grant from the state of Ohio to the amount of $381,900. With being awarded those state grants, you have to complete an environmental review record, which includes a notice of intent to request the release of funds, the request to release the funds, publishing that environmental review record and that notice of intent on paper. Just a process to make sure that the public is knowledgeable and aware of the environmental hazards, the potential of this project, and making sure that we're in compliance with state funding.
Receive and place on file the 2022 annual report for Trumbull County Record Center and Archives, the Division of Trumbull County Recorder.
So this one is our annual report. We have to submit it to the Record Center. The Record Center, I know a lot of people don't think about it, but it's a huge asset for the county. We currently do records for 12 different departments, offices in the county. If anybody, I know we touch a lot more offices that have called our Record Center with questions. Every office in the county has to do records. We have to keep records retention. We have to keep records disposed, our RC2s and our RC3s for records disposal. I encourage anybody that if you have not utilized the Record Center to do so. They are a huge asset. That's what they're there for the county to do, to help all of our departments, with those issues and questions that you have on keeping your records and doing it the right way according to the state. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
John, I gotta tell you, we had we went over the budget meeting, and that was one thing, one of the other commissioners that's not here with us today had mentioned about farming out these services and saving the county money by going outside. No way ever possible. I toured that department after that. Those people, it's unbelievable the work they do there and the amount of copies they make and, the professionalism they have with the way they store things there. I mean, it's literally 2 floors full of records that, it was like Santa's elves in there working like day before Christmas. It was unbelievable, the amount of work, the volumes of work that they have to deal with, and the record keeping they have that I was just throwing things out at them, and they could tell me right where to go, right where to look, right where it would be. And when I was in there, they were actually even working on some stuff from the 1800s that they were still trying to modernize so people could find it, if they needed to go back and do some type of a search. But that's kind of like the hidden lost department that nobody knows about. But it's one hell of an asset for the county and for whoever picked going to that facility. Maybe it was Diana Marquez before you or whoever. Unbelievable how they picked the absolute perfect place for it and the right people to do the job there.
Yes, it is a great asset. I mean, our records in Trumbull County go back to 1795, at least for the recorder's office. So, they have over 6,000 boxes of records that they're storing, and that continues to happen with court cases. If there's evidence, there are things that they have to keep moving forward. We just did, we're probably in the next month gonna finish a project that we were able to utilize CARES Act money that's gonna go 100 years back for our records that were in boxes, to make that available digitally for the commissioner's office, the auditor's office, my office, and clerk of court's office. So we're continuing to keep ahead of technology in that office, and it's just the intangible of any office or department in the county being able to call them with questions. You can't pay for that. You couldn't buy that to be able to do that and have that in-house versus farming that out. So if anybody wants to question the value of that, I would encourage them to try to find out to do so, because I don't think there's any third party that could come close.
And talking to some people too, we used to store records just a little bit of everywhere, and they had literally tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands of records that they salvaged from a flood, went page by page to do everything they can to save every little bit of the history. We even had them, someone told me, in the courthouse up living with the pigeons on the top of the courthouse, in the very dome of the courthouse, and they literally had to remove pigeon waste from a lot of the records to be able to make photocopies and save them, and they did them right. They digitized a lot of them. They've got them stored. It's absolutely amazing the work that they do.
Appreciate that, Commissioner.
Also, just worth noting too, if you were to sub that out, I mean, there's sensitive information in those documents. You know, to have people that aren't county employees looking at that information, you would need supervision just over those employees. So you wouldn't really realize the cost savings.
That was pretty much probably the absolute worst recommendation that I've heard.
Yeah.
Since I've been commissioner, and maybe long before that. But thanks, Todd, and thanks for that department.
Appreciate it.
All right, number 18, to receive and place on file the 2022 annual report for the Trumbull County record, this is the one I just did, sorry about that. To receive and place on file the 2022 annual report for Newton Falls Municipal Court, as submitted by Honorable Judge Vigorito.
I'll give you all copy. He just submitted a report for
Okay.
you to review. So we're just accepting that for a file. Case number 20, Beth Carmichael will talk about it tomorrow with her presentation. It's a monthly report to us.
Yes, so we'll look forward to that from Beth tomorrow. 21, adopt a resolution proclaiming the month of April 2023 as County Government Month in Trumbull County, Ohio, in conjunction with the celebration of National County Government Month. The year's theme for National Government Month is Stronger County, Stronger Ohio, Prepare, Respond, Thrive.
I prepared a resolution, and I will send a copy of it to CCAO, just so they know that we are in recognition of the importance of county government month and are in support of it, so. There's nothing formal, it's just, put it on our agenda, bring attention to the public, and, a resolution, I'll send it off to them.
Thank you. 22, execute on behalf of Trumbull County a natural gas purchase contract with Interstate Gas Supply, commercial and industrial sales, effective with September 2023 billing cycle and ending with the August billing cycle, a fixed rate of $3.74 per MCF at the burn tip for the purchase of natural gas for county departments.
You got a little bit?
Yeah, good morning, Commissioner. So a little background information on this. So, in January of 2020, we, struck a deal for, $2.89 from August of 2020 to August of 2023. So this is for renewal of that. That past December, one of our plans was to put it in the aggregation program with the others. But we had such a mild winter, natural gas prices have dropped recently. As of today, we actually have a little lower price than the $3.64.
This will change.
Like about, $3.65 was the price, yesterday. So, price is set the day both parties sign, so it's hard to say exactly, but, we're looking at about $12,000.
Imperative that we sign it quickly, though.
Yeah.
Prices keep going down.
Bellis, would the board be able to sign, right after the meeting tomorrow, the document? And
Yeah, okay.
does that mean that, your part will be signed tomorrow as well?
Yeah, I can have that done, so I can have it prepared for tomorrow.
Okay, if you send it to me, I'll have it, right after the meeting, after they vote, I'll ask the
Yeah,
board to sign that and get it right to you.
I can do that.
Yes, thank you.
Approve the personnel action for employment of Mr. Viniak as social service worker with Trumbull County Department of Job and Family Services.
Yes, his first name is Anubhav Vinayak. This position came open because of movement within the agency. Actually, it's when Alex left, Ms. Costello took her position and her position became open. So we went out and got candidates, and he was the candidate chosen.
What did he do before this?
He worked at another agency, actually, not in the area, but he's from this area, and he wants to come back to this area. He was the one that was chosen.
So this was posted and?
Yes, it was posted, in-house, also posted, publicly through the OMJ site. We received some applications. There was actually 4 that were interviewed. There were others that did not show, others that, called and accepted other positions, others that did not respond. So he was the top, of the 4 that were interviewed.
How many total applicants for that?
There were 4 that were interviewed, but, there was, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But again, those that were sent out, they didn't respond, or else they accepted another position, and so forth.
Right, 24. To receive and place on file for record purposes, the financial and compliance report from the Family and Community Service, Inc. and subsidiary Someplace Safe, filed in accordance with ORC, and filed with the OAG, Ohio Attorney General's Office, as submitted by Lauren Webb, Director of Someplace Safe, and received by the Board of Commissioners.
We received, this report in a timely manner when it was due, and we have the ladies here from Someplace Safe, and you'll see in the next, action, that, this allows them to get a percentage of, marriage, divorce fees, and money does go to Someplace Safe, twice a year, but I'll let them speak on this, if you want to.
It's our annual file, this is the support that we do
yearly from the community, from the marriage and divorce. That on file with you as well as with the AG.
Appreciate what you do, thank you.
Who do we get this from? We just do the annual budget every year, or how do we appropriate funds?
I think it's automatic for ORC, right?
Well, Sharon actually does the report, and it's, I believe from family court, they'll say, I think down from years back, because not as many people are getting married maybe than before they did, but a percentage of the fees is calculated, and Sharon will give them their checks twice a year, so it does come to our office, and I think we work with family court on that, and give a check. That's kind of how that process works.
Anything else you have, you wanna tell us about?
I mean, I just said how much we appreciate. I don't know, my first year doing this, so this is my first opportunity in front of everyone, and I do appreciate that, their 45th year serving the community. So intense and
Any upcoming events that you guys are hosting that we should be aware of?
We have not as of yet, since COVID, but we do have plans for later after summer for, bingo, and we will have our dinner and dessert for Zoom. There will be more. We do look forward to also on property, hopefully at the end of August, the building has come down and we're doing outside when that's completed, and maybe be able to and have it visible as well.
Keep us in mind, and maybe the commissioners can present a resolution at that time to the group and make sure that we're, recognizing you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
25, adopt a resolution authorizing expenditure for responding to or mitigating the public health emergency from ARP funds, roof replacement project at the planning commission.
Commissioners, this is one of the last two that I had submitted to ARPA funding. This roof is needed desperately, it's been leaking time, and we have the funding to do it, so, it's being done by Trumbull Architects and Engineering, who is on the list of the qualified, certified, architect designs that we have in the county. And this is the last two I have.
Okay, number 26, accept the award of professional design proposal submitted by Strollo for the roof replacing not to exceed $27,000. When do they get started on this building, you know?
As soon as we get the commissioners, I'm pretty sure that your agenda tomorrow will be as good as gold, and all I have to do is wait to pass it, and I'll say, hey.
Adopt the following resolution authorizing Trumbull County Adult Probation Department to accept payments by financial transaction devices.
I'm Teresa Greathouse from Trumbull County Adult Probation Department. We have multiple defendants coming in wanting to pay by credit card. So our chief at this time asked the prosecutor's opinion whether we are under the umbrella of ORC 301.28. The one closest under the list of these county official offices was the clerk of the common pleas. Although we are under the umbrella of the common pleas, we're not under the umbrella of the clerk. So we did not fall into that. So we could not collect by credit card. So we reached out to our senator at the time, Sean O'Brien, and he built, Senate Bill 63, and it was finished by Senator Sandra O'Brien, and it was passed unanimously by the Senate. It was also passed unanimously by the House to allow county probation departments to accept credit cards. So we are moving forward. That went into effect after the 90 days once it was passed, went into effect on April 3rd, on Monday. So now we are moving forward with the RFP to get the bids on the transaction. And Paul and I will work closely on that. Sam Lamacusco said that he would help us in every way that we can, but there are 8 steps to doing this, so we are on step 1. So, here we go.
Mr. Lamacusco is like the godfather of these, his
Yes.
knowledge is, and Mr. Toast helping as well, so we'll just, every step of the way, we'll make sure it's approved, we'll work together doing it, and we'll just have everything double checked, and we'll get through it. So it's great when it's finished, and it's, but it is a statutory process that we will follow, we'll get it. This is our first step, so.
Correct.
And this language was approved by Mr. Lamacusco and Mr. Toast, so we're confident with it.
Yes, and I have step 2 already approved by the vote.
Okay, and that will be maybe for
Let's
next,
move forward.
okay, thank you.
28, adopt a resolution authorizing expenditure for revenue loss from ARP funds, stair replacement lot library.
This is the last one that I had submitted for ARPA funding. I do need to make an adjustment on the expense. We're not going with the alternative, which I forgot to take out when I submitted my application for ARPA. So the project will not cost $437,000, it's gonna be more of a $473,000 project.
Is that for the heating element and stuff?
Yeah, we're not gonna have the heated, so that will amend, so the actual engineering cost for that will only be $20,050 instead of the, 37 I initially put in. And I'll show that, I'll give that to you, Paula, so it's just a number change.
What
And then
number is
with all
that with?
savings, I'm saving the $110,000.
28.
29.
Okay, so it's gonna be 23,850,
Yeah, I'll just.
Okay, thank you. and I'll change that on the resolution as well.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, 28 goes along with that.
29.
Okay, number 30, authorize an agreement by and between Ohio Department of Administrative Services, Office of Information Technology, Multi-Agency Radio Communication, and Trumbull County Board of Commissioners.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that on your agenda so we're aware that it's out there. That's a contribution of $875,000 from the county, and a contribution of $875,000 from the Ohio Department of Administrative Services, for the tower in Brookfield. Very important project. We do have an ARPA application on file with our legal counsel, and, we were trying to see if there's any other alternatives for funding. I know Commissioner Cantala Mesa and I tried to speak with the representatives at the governor's committee working on this, and they seem to be pretty adamant that this is the most that they can give us.
And we're certainly, I don't mean to interrupt, we're certainly appreciative of the state, with the $875,000, they'd be constructing the tower, the actual tower, and we'd be buying the equipment and the shelter that houses the equipment. So it's a good partnership with the state. We tried to get as many dollars as possible, as we could to assist with the project. The state's been very receptive though, and we're very content. We know that there's been, even in the last weather events we had, there's been a lot of, dead zones and no communication in Fowler Township, which is concerning. It's a safety issue. This is the first but necessary step in this, right, Jim, that we need to take, and then we can go out for the procurement of the actual, or put it on the agenda for those,
Right.
the equipment and the shelter.
Yeah, speaking to Mr. Miller,
Can they start construction of the tower just yet, or?
once we have the agreement signed, they can start that, and then we will have to get our commitment from the ARPA funding. Hopefully it'll be something that's not under the revenue loss category, but under the general health and safety for the community. And then we can, move forward. They had a few wrinkles when we had a change in the commissioners. We had signed our easement back in 2022 for the tower. We had a new commissioner, the state wanted to have the new commissioner's signature on it, so we had to have
action on that. And then they had a change of legal counsel with the first of the year with the department, so that caused some issues. But, yeah, we're at the point where, I had about a half-hour conversation with Mr. Miller last Thursday. He's very cooperative. He's hopeful that, the state will have, that shelter, bid out for, that we can purchase from them.
Yeah.
And they have backup information, so that will help us get it more timely. And he indicates that most of the equipment that we're buying from Motorola, they've spent tens of millions of dollars through state purchasing for their towers throughout the state of Ohio. And he's hopeful that we can utilize those systems as well to avoid any delays in acquiring that equipment.
Question on the bidding, is that,
Well, that's one of the rationale, tying it in with, issues that you have for 911. That's the reason why we talked about it last week, was to get a request from the prosecutor to determine whether or not the equipment that we're buying is, since it's for 911 equipment, that, it's not subject to competitive bidding by state statute. And then the other issues are whether or not Motorola has these on file with the state of Ohio as being cooperative purchasing. And the other item would be it's proprietary, because they have, Motorola has to be consistent with, the compatibility of the equipment. It's proprietary.
so essentially the prosecutor's opinion that we have regarding, new equipment in the 911 center would answer that question.
It should answer all three. You have, Ms. Goldner has two requests, and this one is technically, she filed it 2 weeks ago. It's for an additional $516,685 for backup radios at the, different 911 centers. And that's all Motorola equipment as well. Motorola submitted that they are a sole source for that equipment. So that's one of the issues we want the prosecutors to be able to advise us on too.
Do we have that opinion ready to?
It is, it's up there. I believe it needs, one more signature to go down, but it is up
So
front.
since this officially has not gone to Tanya yet for the official legal opinion, and I'd like the commissioner's approval for that.
That's the $500,000 in equipment for the 911 center,
Yeah, the prior,
not the-
she had a prior, request for $201,000, which we had submitted, and that's been approved by legal counsel, so. So I'd like to submit this today.
That's in addition to the $875 we're already given?
Yeah, it's a lot of money. I mean, it's all, obviously,
But she talked about the need for
Oh,
that
that's
extra,
absolutely,
for that
yeah.
new equipment.
and the backup sites as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And we do have pending, actually, for the EMA, vehicle, command vehicle too, that has been filed.
Yeah, if they move it forward.
We have to move forward, it's a safety issue,
yeah.
we have to move it
We
forward.
need to talk to Patty about it a little bit more too, though, on the, immediate needs that they have there.
And as far as the tower, or the equipment and, shelter, I mean, what are the next possible steps there? We've already signed it as commissioners, now that we have a new commissioner.
Well, we have the request in, so I was asking Tanya to get that opinion back. She asked at one time if we could utilize it, because there is an exemption also for, category, it's just more of a funding issue, what fund it would come out of, whether or not the Wi-Fi, the tower could be compatible with the Wi-Fi, relay. And I said, I'm sure it is, but we haven't really discussed that.
And could that be used for Wi-Fi in the future? Like, I mean, is there possible?
Yes, Ashtabula, in partnership with an ARC grant, put out an RFP, getting, partner with launch towers and put broadband Wi-Fi on launch towers. And that's gonna be, actually included in reworking of our RFI that is now gonna be in our, because it's some new.
But we didn't wanna wait until that issue was resolved. We need to move forward, at least secure the funding and get the process moving, because it's gonna be probably a 6-month build.
I mean, that's why it was so important that we tried to get as much funding as we can from the state. We're left with some big price tags here for new equipment, we're looking at a new facility.
When you talked to the lady from, Administrative Services, did you bring up, besides the tower, did you bring up just the Mark's equipment? See if they had grants on Motorola equipment or the backup equipment,
We
that's
did.
500,000?
It was just discussions about the tower.
So
Well, the tower is part and parcel to, our function is state's building the tower, and it's really a 50-50 split. If there's $100,000 difference in what we spend and they spend, they're willing to negotiate that.
well, what I'm
He's
saying
saying
is,
is
I'm
that
saying
much.
for the 500,000 for that,
No, yeah,
that if
for
we
this-
ask them if there's some state funding they can help us with on that regarding the equipment
We
separate
can
from
try
the tower.
before we, because that hasn't been submitted to ARP yet.
Well, we still want,
We can submit it,
we
but
want
in the
to
meantime,
submit it
we
to
can.
get an approval.
Bring up that next issue, okay, separate from the tower, we need
Right.
this,
Yeah.
what can the state do to help us
We
with this?
can
Yeah,
definitely
we can
try
always
to do
ask,
that, yeah.
that's
So
what we
I
tried
think
to
they're
ask.
gonna come up with something for us if we just
Let's hope.
request it the right
Yeah,
way.
we've tried to ask.
At least the day we met with them there, they were, anything you need, what can we do, and I
Yeah,
know,
and they are and to their credit, they're working with us. I mean, we could foot the bill on that whole thing, but the construction of the tower is gonna be taken care of 100% by the state, so that's a very costly ticket there, but we're gonna pay for the equipment. But this is another issue, I agree, maybe we can talk to them about if there are some grants out there
right,
for that, yeah.
especially coming in with this new next-gen technology thing that they have,
Yeah,
that a lot of that's gonna tie in, and
Right.
maybe some of the equipment's crossover potentially that we can get them to fund. Worth an ask.
That's right.
Okay, and then number 3132, or executive session request, and that is, for myself, Mauro, and Paula to, meet with our attorney to fight the latest Ames Frenchco lawsuit. We'll do that at the end of the meeting. Anybody have any questions, anything for the good? Nick first?
So I have two announcements and an inquiry for you. So I'll start with the announcements. One, Broadband Ohio is going to be in Youngstown on April 20th, being hosted at the Eastgate Regional Council of Governments. So it's a listening session. So any broadband or high-speed internet to our community issues that we want to talk about will be April 20th. They're asking local governments to be there between 1 and 2:15. I have a flyer printed out for you. They also have other sessions for businesses, nonprofits, and, open to the public. But specifically for the commissioners, local governments between 1 and 2:15 PM at the Eastgate Regional Council of Governments. That's with Broadband Ohio. The second announcement, is Community Legal Aid is putting together a Mahoning Valley Eviction Prevention Summit. I believe you did receive some information on this already. This is also gonna be April 20th. But the summit, the Community Legal Aid is asking, one or all the commissioners to either attend or participate in a few, possibly say a few words. And they're also requesting that the commissioners join the Community Legal Aid in proclaiming the week of April 17th as Eviction Prevention Week. So there's an email that, I believe you've received information on, but wanted to make that announcement here.
And I wrote it, and it's up there waiting for the board. I think they have something, and I think there's a conflict. They, talked to Miss Nader, and, she really wanted somebody to come, so I'm hoping one of the board members could come to the function, but I think there's a lot of, conflict with their schedule that day, so I don't know if the board would want a representative to go, but.
It's not at the same time as the others.
It's, both announcements are making are gonna be.
Yeah.
Same time.
Yes,
They're,
Oh, boy.
well, they're both the same day, same time, so there'll be somebody from our office at both events. I actually am gonna be on one of the roundtables and speaking at the event, eviction prevention. But we will have representation of broadband, but it's also open, we wanna make sure the commissioners are aware or invited. Another item I had was an inquiry. We were at Fowler Township last night presenting the Youngstown, Air Reserve Station Military Installation Overlay Districts. And they wanted us to see if we can follow up with, and see if you had any comments regarding the solar installations. There was a solar installation going into their proposed solar long ago that came,
I think we do need to work through our planning commission as far as surveying townships and what their thoughts on all this is, because I know, I've reached out to some other counties, and that's what they're doing with their townships. Because I know that the decision falls squarely on the county.
yeah.
But, we want some input, obviously, and I know you're getting that right now, so to speak, but if we have it in like data form, so we can, you know.
Nick, what is the planning commission's take on that, being that that's reflecting back up, which could affect the R's plan with the,
So I have not looked at this specific proposal itself, but I know in the joint land use study and part of the, lighting and glare overlays that we're requesting be adopted by the townships and local communities, it's anything over 10 megawatts. They're requesting they coordinate with the Department of Defense siting clearinghouse. So 10 megawatts is a huge industrial commercial. I don't know how big this one is. And according to the Ohio EPA's website right now, 1 megawatt of solar panels covers 15 acres. 10 megawatts, we're talking 150 acres. Incredibly huge. So they're only asking that they coordinate with the DOD at something that large. I have not looked at this individual proposal yet at all. I haven't received it, but they did ask us, they're required to receive comments from the county commissioners. They wanted us to, see if you double check and see. If you'd like, you could send that to our office and we can.
I had a meeting last week with, representative from Brookfield Township and one from Vian, and they asked the same thing of us to act on this sooner than later. A lot of the townships are enacting their own size restrictions, things like that for their residents, but they were hoping they get leadership from us as far as, keeping all the townships in line together, so none go rogue on this thing while other ones are restricting them, so.
Yeah.
That is something we're gonna have to learn and discuss.
It is, restrictions, I think there is some between the Ohio Building Code when you're putting them on residential, especially. At least when the zoning text comes to our office, most of the townships that have adopted restrictions are based on that building code, to ensure, you know, you're not putting solar right up to the edge of your building code and building, and safely. But there's, obviously, this is gonna be a lot newer, a lot more progressive, and I didn't review Fowler specifically, but they did ask us to follow up with you and see if there's comment back about regarding this.
Well, and also since Nick is here, we had a meeting on the Ween demolition project, PNP, so if you wanna update everybody on that, that was a productive meeting.
So, well, what we did was basically go over the site plan, what we wanted to be included, to make sure that, you know, if there's any structures that we wanted to be kept, we didn't damage it, so there's a couple of larger trees that are closer to the public right of way. We wanna make sure that we try to, if possible, keep those, not just bulldoze everything, and make sure that, the removal was going in accordance with, the guidelines of the funds. We also talked about what it's gonna look like. Is it gonna be turned into parking lot? Is it gonna be turned into space? And as of right now, it's looking like we're gonna make a green space, and make, you know, seed grass there, potentially a few more plants, or trees to make it a usable, area in the warm weather for staff or the YWCA to be able to be outside, enjoy lunch, and enjoy the area, and, green the downtown area a little bit. This block currently is all buildings and parking lots, so we might have more grass and trees.
Yeah, and of course, the backfill will be completely solid for future development, but we thought it would be since there's no immediate use after it's demolished, you need some time for settling to build on the site, that, the green space would be more
There's a compaction level that
suitable.
must be based on the guidelines.
And TNP is still bidding it all out through their grant.
And just real quick and appreciate the update, just real quick on the solar farms and potential wind farms and all that stuff. I mean, all that is dictated through the military installation program, right? I mean, are we just gonna adhere to that, or?
Well, there's multiple levels to that. So
Well, that's what I'm saying, but there's
Yeah.
multiple levels, but it varies within communities, right?
Mhm.
As close as they are to the airbase.
The closer they are to the airbase, but the solar and glare is included in all of them. But again, they're only asking to be coordinated with the Youngstown Reserve Station and the DOD when it's 10 megawatts or larger, which is massive, undertaking. So individual townships are already starting to regulate that a little bit on residential properties, but it must be on your house, or if it's on the roof, it must be so far away from the edge of the roof. It can't be over a certain size, otherwise it's, so there's, you know, your residential layer, your commercial layer, and then what the DOD wants to make sure that they're getting a say in. So there's quite a few levels to that, and I don't believe the Fowler Township is at the, but, I believe they're under the impression they're required to get your comments, so it must be a large enough site to not be a residential, but still, not be at the DOD. Between the two, you still have to review and comment.
So,
Commissioners, I brought this to your attention in late mid-February about trucks. An opinion letter I gave Mr. Kimberly to one yesterday, we had our meeting with the city. I've done my due diligence, I got an opinion from Mr. Danzo. If I could go forth and purchase any of these trucks, at first it was gonna come out of the casino fund, but since Andre Yoder took over, I would like to re-innovate on which funds we could possibly take these vehicles from.
I'll need to check that, but if you'll recall, we're trying very hard not
Yes,
to
I
do
know that,
anything
that's
from
why I want to
casino.
innovate with you.
Okay,
So, we'll revisit this, so, you know, it changed, we changed
Okay.
hands, of course, so. I have all my emails that I've tried to get state purchasing prices, and are far more expensive than what I could get a 2022 vehicle for compared to a 20. And I have the state, I got all my diligence right here in my hand.
Let the commissioner review that, and there's some vague nuance in there that I still need some clarity on, because
Correct.
it's not really telling us one way or another.
So Bill said in the final, I underlined it for Commissioner Roy, that he would defend, according to what I have here, as far as doing the due diligence.
But he also recommends a safe route.
Correct,
And
yeah.
I wanna get a little bit of a clarity on that.
Well, that's fine,
If I can.
that's why I'm presenting it again.
No, I appreciate, and I don't wanna talk about it just yet, because it's attorney-client privilege, but until we waive it, and I'll let, Commissioner Malloy look at it, but I do have some questions for Mr. Dan.
That's fine, yes. And I have one more thing then, before I am done.
Yes.
I gave you.
Yes.
Commissioner, I'd like to have 3 county flags in Trumbull County. One is here, one is in planning commission, and one is in my office. When this was done back in 2002, that explains what the county flag is. And how it was designed, and there's a letter from Mr. Newbrow, who started the project. That's the casting of our county bell, just so you have this information. I would like to take our county flag, that one that I have in my office, frame it with the language that says what the county flag stands for, and hang it outside your office door over here in the hall, so everybody can read it and see what.
I will say, in 2002, that was a great endeavor spearheaded by, Gary Newbrow, and he was in the planning commission.
And the letter's back there too on the back, from the newspaper.
But I mean, and a student basically came up,
Couple students, and it went to the state, who put it together, that gentleman in the article threw it all together and made it what it is today.
It's a beautiful
Very
piece, and it has a history that's unique and specific to Trumbull County, which
Yes.
I love, so
Yes.
I'd be all for it. I think it's a great, I don't know why we didn't run with it before, sort of. We got the state seal and everything, but to have our own, branding is
Commissioner,
something
listening
we
to
should be proud
everybody
of.
here, and the township's asking for our money, I would like to take it another step and ask every township to provide a picture with a plaque under it on what it stands for and where it's from. I mean, and maybe we should be displaying them in our halls. I'm just out there sometimes.
And,
No, I know you're a history buff, so I
oh,
like
we
that.
both are. Phil and I are fighting common ground every day. Once that project will be done, that would also be something to get a high-quality picture and put on our website.
Yeah.
And have the story, all of that is things that can be included on the commissioner's part of the website, and we can have IT work on it. But once you complete that, we certainly want to put that, fold that into, on some tab or someplace within the website. Absolutely.
Also an explanation, or bridge or whatever, from the, whatever.
Right. Very cool, yeah.
Yeah, something else, Bill, we have a county flag at my office too.
That's for.
And, we have one out there, and I'd love to have something out there that explains like what you wanna do here.
I took that off the website.
Oh, okay.
Ohio State website.
Okay, 'cause it'd be nice if I had something out there in our big meeting room where our flag's at,
Yeah.
to explain that too, because, that'd be a great idea.
We'll make copies for anybody that wants to see it. It's an interesting story. I mean, students developed it. It's very cool. And it's, like I said, unique to Trumbull County.
It's badass.
It is. It is.
Did you read Gary's article in the back, Commissioner?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, and then the casting of the bell, which it'll be at the fairgrounds, that's where it's stored. So you have a letter of how it was casted for every 88 counties, in the state of Ohio, so that's how it was going to be. They casted it here, and they molded it here and done it.
Go along with this too, I was at the fairgrounds the other day for a meeting, and first off, the building right next to the fairgrounds had a substantial shingle damage. It's one of the ones we didn't plan on doing, but they said they'll be able to scratch it in their budget. The contractor that is doing the one building for us, looked like he can add that on there at very minimal cost that they would cover. And he wanted to talk about that, further, but it definitely is bare wood up there. It was from this last storm that we had. Also, they have a little historic town in there, and it's something that the volunteers have been building. They built a blacksmith shop. They have the old jail from Orangeville, and they just built a saloon that's pretty awesome. When you go inside, it talks about, they have on the walls a history of 8 different historic taverns that we have in the county, and that's something that'll be ready for the fair this year. And they used parts of different taverns, which is really, really cool. They're building a coal mine now, and one of the things they had brought up was, we've got the old church there, which is kind of the center point of the history in the fairgrounds, and it's in pretty bad disrepair inside. There's a leak in the bell tower, which is now leaking into the main area, and they've got some historic documents on the walls and stuff that are in jeopardy of being damaged right now. And, they're having a problem with the gutters not doing their job, and things are coming down to the foundation. So, I recommend in any way that we can. What I told them is, being it is a historical program, they have a lot of volunteers, we have a lot of talent in the county as far as, laborers, people that have construction companies. We're looking for somebody, or for them to reach out to possibly, have some of our businesses in the county adopt one of the buildings in the fairgrounds to help out. There's some siding work, some roofing work, some, gutters that need replaced, and instead of them going out and hiring somebody, I think with the amount of volunteers that wanted to say, hey, how can we be involved, what can we do for Trumbull County? I think there's some people out there that may be able to help, and I asked them to start soliciting that and see what we can do as commissioners to involve the community, that if we have people that have skills like that, to possibly have some work parties or some days out there to get that in shape. Inside the church, they wanna be able to utilize that for weddings. They have a wedding that's gonna happen there this summer, and if they were to get new flooring in there and just some minimal amount of work inside, paint on the walls and get that leak fixed, that could be a destination that people would wanna utilize. I can see weekly, bookings out there for people to get married in that old church. So that's just another possibility, another thinking outside the box thing I'd like for us to do moving forward, to utilize that fairgrounds more and more, and make that a place that eventually becomes you know, an everyday, 24/7, 365 type of place that is open to the public and welcome for the public to utilize, whether it be walking on the track for exercise, or it be hosting weddings or events there, family functions in the pavilions or the buildings we have there. We kind of need to work with the Fair Board and let the county know open for business, and this is an asset we have that we want to share for all citizens. So, Bill, thank you you've given a lot of instruction out there. They said you've helped them tremendously with ideas and stuff out there and what to do. But there are some things that need done now, and before we lose that church, and you know, we need to make awareness to the public that we have this historic village coming in now, piece by piece, and pretty much it's just a handful of volunteers doing it, but there's work to be done out there, and if people want to get more involved, please contact the Commissioner's office or the Fair Board, and let's get some stuff rolling out there. Okay, anybody else? Okay, let's,
Oh, I had
Jim?
one more thing, when we met over at the Veterans, this was long ago, and music, request for the 60,000, he met with the mayor, and the mayor is willing to co-share that, expense. Remember, I think he said ask.
yeah, we did, we said ask for Warren first,
He
and
did.
and he asked Warren, and Warren came through. So we opened up our mouth, and that's great. We wrote a check, our body's gonna cash now, but no, this is a
positive.
it's a great thing, and it's awesome that the city would work in partnership with this. And I have no problem moving this thing forward. If the city's gonna absorb half of it, I have no problem with the other half if we
Opinion on
can.
that as
Yeah.
well.
Absolutely.
Now, we gotta see how that flies with Tanya and the funding, because it is a structure, it is a building, and the only question I have is, you know, if we're gonna put all this money into remodeling the building, getting it prepared, who's gonna own the building, and what happens if they go under? You know, that's the question I have before I throw any funds that way, is getting that worked out with the board there, and who's gonna manage it, should this thing not be here 3, 4, 5 years down the road, for whatever reason. It's pretty much a one-man show, and if something were to happen to him, we put the money there, and they gotta sell the place, who goes to it?
One-man band.
It's one-man band, yeah, pretty much. But it is, an asset to the county, and he's
Yeah.
quite a talent, to be proud he's from the county, I didn't know that, and all that he does in Vegas, it's kinda cool. Anybody else have anything for the good? All right, Shara, we're gonna try to go to the phone line.
Commissioner, we got Ed with his hand raised.
Okay.
Yeah, one thing, and Mara, we haven't talked recently about this, and I've not talked to Bill about this. I just wonder where we are at with what we need to move forth with my project out at the Ag Center.
So there was some discussion as to whether or not that grant could be used, the $9,000 grant, could be other capacities. We know that's not the case, that was earmarked for that, those steps outside, so, however we need to go about that, Bill, can we work with Ed on that?
Oh, sure.
But it has to be for that purpose.
Sure, yeah.
There was some talk about, you know, can we use it for other things to improve the Ag Center? Typically, those grants are done that way, so, if we need to, whatever we need to do to work with Ed to get that.
Sure.
And again,
We both looked at the structure, so.
Yeah.
and again, I just brought this up, you're talking about the walkway
Yeah.
area. When you look at other counties, and I've been to Wayne County, I've been to Holmes County, I've been to Canfield, to see kind of what they do with their fair board and what they do with some of their buildings and agriculture related. There are a lot of farmers that step forth with endowments to a certain area, and with the Ag Center there, not to put it back on, but I'd like to see if there's a way in something like this, we can have a community partnership with that, where maybe we can find some of the more lucrative farming operations in the county to maybe adopt that area to help with it themselves, rather than keep going back to the taxpayers to do it. I think that's something we're, like with sports, when we shine in a lot of areas that we do, if it's a sports-related project, no matter where it is, they seem to come up with the funding when they need it for whatever, without having to go to government. Mostly, you know, with the gun stuff and everything, try to stay away from that. But, I don't know if there's an avenue there, but it's something, again, that I think we need, and maybe that's something as Director of Ag, you can kind of look at and say, hey, here's our wish list, that where we can cost share with the county or something, and maybe we can name that, you know, the so-and-so walkway or whatever, and highlight, someone in agriculture, someone in our rural community to help with that at the same time.
Yeah, and I've done that. And the thing is, with this repair, this came from the Ohio Senate. They're the ones that gave me the money to do this project. So that's where the money came through. As far as other things, yeah, that whole facility, as you know, was built by agriculture, for agriculture. They helped out the county a lot, you know, over 20 years ago with this project. And then even last year, as a farmer myself, you know, I took equipment in and I did a lot of work. I've had other people done work. So there has been a lot of agriculture input on this. You're right, it'd be great to do some more, but in case you didn't know, I think Marl's aware of some of this. There has been a lot of work done out there with bigger equipment, and I know because it came from my own place.
Right.
So, you know, we constantly, you know, are trying to keep things up, but we're at the point now to where some things just have to be done, and when the Senate reached out to me, you know, with this money to do this project, you know, I accepted it, and I thought it was great. So, but you're right, I will continue to work on that.
And just something moving forward with all that, we can do a lot with partnership.
Yeah.
And I like the whole partnership idea that we're reaching out to them, they reach out to us now with funding, we can reach out to them to create some partnerships out there too, to highlight our own. And I see that happen in other counties. I saw a building go up, a $5 million building go up at the Wayne County Fair, and it was paid for almost 100% by the farmers in that county. And they've got the big placards on the wall, and they got buildings named after them and stuff like that, and it's something where their family name will live on forever through that. And that's just thinking outside the box moving forward, that as we get things in, not to steer the money away from what we do, because I wanna help out as much as I can here, but let's just let them know that if they've never been asked before to be a partner, I'm gonna show that we are looking for partners in the county to do this together, not just us making decisions out of this room or on the podium and then dictating to them. I want everyone to realize we are a partnership in this county.
Yeah, and one thing that I'm gonna need your help with, and probably, Martha's, you know, I'm gonna need some help with this, because we found out through this grant, I used to have a budget out there. Jim knows about that. We used to, you know, be entitled with the budget, and over the years, that budget has gone down enough into where now they had to create a whole new thing just for us to be able to have this stuff done. So we almost need to create something that is, ag center, you know, focused, and it's just like Cortland. I reached out to, Mayor Petrosky from Cortland about this same project. They came up and looked at it, because we, out there with this particular project, that helps the state, which is why the state got into it, because of their trails and things, the county's trails. We work with Mosquito Lake, the Army Corps of Engineers. I've got a lot of people involved with this, and I thought because it is something that a lot of people from Cortland use, as well as everybody in the county, we see people out there every day, all day long. And at the very last minute, Cortland says, you know what, that's on your property, meaning the counties. We can't help with this, and they wouldn't. But I think that that's something, maybe with your help, we could extend this, branch out a little bit farther, for the lack of any other term, and see if Cortland can't help with us a little bit, because look, they just came to us for some money. So if they're coming to us, why can't we go to them and say, hey, look, you know, can you chip in $1,000 or $5,000, or can you have your mower crew maybe mow this that needs mowed, or something simple like that even would be a good thing. But I think that you and I need to talk, the three of us need to talk and come up with a plan where we can work with Cortland a little bit too, because I have approached them about doing some of that mowing for us by those steps, and they're like, yeah, we'd like to do it, but this is your property, we can't touch it.
And there's an awful lot that needs routine maintenance.
Yes, it does.
And Mr. Zhang's been coming to our meetings lately. He's a special events coordinator, special projects coordinator in Cortland. He's been working with us really well, and that's someone that, you know, request a meeting of him, or if he's listening, you know, I'll give him a buzz and see if we can work on inroads that way too, because it does highlight the whole region, it benefits them and us.
If we get it knocked down, we'll maintain it. Try to get it knocked down to where we can maintain it.
Oh, that brush back there.
Yeah. I mean, it's overgrown, but once we get it knocked down to a mowable state, then grass our grounds, we can just cut the grass. You know, we need more, or they need to stay away from, for the sanctuaries.
Right.
That's all we need to do is make.
And one of the reasons we've not called maintenance before about all this was because you needed a tractor with a brush hog. You needed something big, and I was doing that. several times a year, you know, so that was my contribution personally to the county. But there's so much thick stuff in there that just to hit it with a zero turn or something, you'd be replacing those zero turns every other time you use them out there. So we tried to keep that down, but we'll have to get it down. Maybe we need to tear that up and replant grass or something there. But there's so much little stuff growing up there that, you know, it'd be tough on your equipment. But I appreciate that, but yeah, it's a joint effort that maybe we can all work together on, and I appreciate your help with that.
Get it knocked out, we'll maintain it.
Very good. Okay, Sarah, can you unmute the phone line, see if we have any phone calls for the good? Paula, can you check with Sarah, see if she has anybody
Sure,
on the line?
she could hear, she's
She
probably,
can hear?
yeah, I was
Okay.
just in the office, but.
And find out what we need to tell them to do to unmute themselves.
Absolutely. They're open.
Okay,
Yes, they are.
phone lines are open, so if you have a question, go ahead. Star 6 to unmute yourself. Last call, star 6, unmute yourself. Okay, seems like that's it, and anybody else? Laura, you got anything? I'm good. Anything to talk to me about, Paula? Okay, well, thank you all for being here.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Cancel Evation?
Second.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy?
Yes.
Thank you all.
Time?